Hey everyone. So, you all made me emotional. Yes, true. You all made me emotional. So, I just want to take some moment and thank all of you for the outstanding support that you have shown to me by commenting on your JavaScript course. I was going through each of the comment. Indeed, in a week, I almost read all of the comment. Kind of gives me a perspective of why to continue working on this channel. Because sometimes I just frustrate myself, where because I have to take a lot of retake, have to do some. The editing plus fine tuning plus writing script. It takes a lot of time. Plus, I have some additional works as well, but the amount of comment and the depth of the words chosen by you all to write those comments, it means a lot to me. Yes, it certainly means a lot to me. So again, I just want to take few moment and thank each one of you who commented, and whoever did not even commented but subscribed, made sure to subscribe to Code Block. I am thankful to all of you. Now again, from my side, this is going to be a very healthy gift to all of you. So we are going to start the series of advanced JavaScript, and in which we are going to cover the concepts of object oriented programming. I know most of you commented in the first JavaScript course that where is object oriented programming? Friends, let me tell you, as a beginner, if I would have talked about object oriented programming in the same course, then my entire planning would have malfunctioned. I can use this word malfunction. I don't know what is the context in which I should use the word malfunction, but yeah, the prototype that I did to craft that course, in that original course I had kept the object oriented programming section, but later I realized that for a beginner, uh, including object oriented programming in a beginner series, it might kind of how can I put this word? I'm falling short of words. It could have given you little tough time to understand. Okay, so that's why I deliberately chose to schedule object oriented programming with advanced steps of JavaScript in a separate course, and this is that course. Okay, so now we are going to start with clarifying little bit of concepts related to functions, and then we are going to start the journey of object oriented programming. So yeah, in functions we had to talk about call, apply and bind. Also we have to talk about iffy closures. Okay, so we haven't talked about all of these, and these are really very important concept related to functions. Okay, so now we are going to understand about all of this, and after this we will continue the journey of object oriented programming, and both of these are going to be in this one video. In this lecture especially, we are going to go back to the this keyword and gonna learn how we can set the this keyword manually, and also why we would want to do that. So here I'm just going to declare a very simple object. I'm going to take an example of an airline. So I will say Air India. Okay, and all of this will make sense in a moment. This object will contain few key value pairs. So first is airline name, well, not equals to but colon Air India, and then IATA code, which is the initial of airline, which is AI. And now I also want to create a bookings array. Initially it is going to be empty, and then we are going to push some details, the passengers details with the flight name, into this empty bookings array. Okay, and then here I can define the method. Okay, so again, how to define method? Two ways. You can use the modern syntax of JavaScript, which is method shorthand, and you can also create it the old way. So by this you can say book, and then you can open a function like this. But again, there is no problem in doing this, but since I have always suggested you to use modern syntax wherever it is possible, then do it. So we can just say this. Okay, so this is method shorthand. Now this method will take two arguments. So the first one is the number of, not number of, but but the flight's number itself, flight number. In airline, each flight has a number, like flight number 216, flight number 416, okay, and then the passenger name, okay. And now let's build the string. So here I'm just going to say we'll use a template string, and I will simply say here that on passenger name booked a flight on this dot airline name, because we are targeting the airline name, so that we can say that passenger name John, Jane, anyone booked a flight on this dot airline, which means that this dot airline. So this method is inside this object, and we want to create the details into this bookings array with these details. So that's why this keyword is going to target this Air India object, and it is going to fetch the detail of airline name, which is Air India, okay. So that's why it will say passenger name booked a flight on Air India, okay. And then I can say flight, and here I'll have to use this dot IATA code, and then here without any space we'll have to provide not this, but this time I just have to say flight number, okay. That's it. So this is how we build a string, and of course we have to use the we have to push the details into this bookings array as well, so that we'll have to do it. So I can again do that using this dot bookings dot using post method. I can post an object, and that object is going to be this entire part here, this part here, and whatever it has a string, and instead of this empty of the problem is I need to create that code inside this book method itself, okay. So now here we are just saying that this dot bookings dot post, so we are pushing this entire detail in this bookings array. So now if you do this, if you say Air India dot book, now this book method is accepting two arguments, so the flight number and the passenger name, okay. So now I can pass these two, and I think this flight number is grayed out, which means we haven't used it. Oh, FLIGHT, okay, so there was spelling error, okay. Now here I can pass the flight number to be, let's say 416, and then John Wick. Again, I don't need to tell you why John Wick, you all know, okay, if you have watched the JavaScript lecture. If I save this, hopefully we'll get the output. It says John Wick booked a flight on Air India flight A1416. Similarly, if I want to create another object, and not object but another bookings, for example, let's say now 216, and this time this is Jack Sparrow. I'm sorry, it should be Captain Jack Sparrow. What a mistake I was about to make. Okay, so now you can see that our method is working completely fine. Now I want to log out this entire object, and you will see that this bookings array is filled with the details with these two passengers. So here I can say CL and not bookings but Air India. If I save this, expand this object and go to bookings, you see we have two items. So it says AI undefined passenger John Wick. This should have been, let's check that push IATA code, this one. Wait a second, I made a mistake, and this is right here. Maybe let's quickly dig deep. So this is bookings array we are pushing, so there is something that is going off right here. So IATA code is this one, and flight number, so we are passing the flight number, that is completely fine, but somehow it is not getting registered. So flight number is this one, and passenger name is this one, and it says AI undefined. AI is getting printed, but where is this undefined coming from? Let's quickly dig deep. This should not have been undefined. This dot flight number, oh, here it should not have been this dot flight number, just flight number. Again, why did I used this on the method itself? No, this is used to point to the object that is calling the method. This is not used to point to the arguments that is created in the method itself. Okay, so if I save this, now it should be fixed. Sometimes I myself confuses. Okay, so now if you expand it, you see Air India 416 John Wick, and Air India 216 Captain Jack Sparrow. Okay, now this is a very simple object. Okay, now moving on. After a few years, Air India introduced a new fleet of airlines, and again we are going to have all of this data for there as well, because again if you have created an airline, you certainly need all of these data there as well. Okay, because you want to book flights on those airlines as well. So let's now define it. So I'm going to call it Air Vistara, nice name, and then we are going to have all of these details there as well. So I'm going to copy this one, and here I will just change this to Vistara AV, and again we are going to keep bookings are empty. Let me adjust my mic, it is coming on my way. Okay, now again we need to book flights on Air Vistara as well, so we need these methods. Now do you think that we should just copy these methods and we should paste it here? We can do that, there is no problem in it, but the reason is this does not look refactored code. What I mean by refactored code is this is wet, write everything twice. Instead we should write dry code, which means do not repeat yourself. At least if you can clearly see that I can put all of this code into a function, then you should definitely do not repeat this long method into each object. So I'm just going to cut this, and we are not going to use it. Instead we are going to elaborate a feature of JavaScript that I have already talked in the primary JavaScript course, which is method borrowing. So instead I can simply create a new variable and I can call it book as well, and now I'm going to say that hey, I'm going to borrow a method book from this Air India object. So here I can say that hey book, you are going to get the data from Air India dot book. So now this is a regular variable, but now this variable has data of this method which is coming from Air India dot book. So by using method borrowing, we have created a function which is called as book. Now you can ask me that again, we created a book function and we got the data from a book function as well. How is this happening? This is happening because this is in completely different scope, and then this is a completely different scope. Okay, this is global and this scope is local to it. However, we do not talk about scope in the context of object, but I hope you are getting my point. This book is a method that is defined inside this object. Now this book is a function that is defined in the global execution context. Okay, so here I'm saying that hey book Air India dot book. Okay, so this book is now going to be a function. So now I can do this. So what if I say book? So this is a function call, and now I can provide this book these details, flight number, passenger name. So I can pass the flight number, let's say 526, and passenger name I will call it Tintin, the adventure of Tintin. Now in advance I'm going to tell you that we are going to run into an error, and I will give you 5 seconds to figure out what is this error all about. Okay, it says type error, cannot read properties of undefined, reading airline name. So this book was unable to read the data on the airline name IATA code. So now pause this video and try to understand that why did we get this type error. I have talked about this type error in details in the original course, and I hope that you are able to understand this error. Again, programming is not about just writing few codes. Programming is also about understanding that why did I generated this type error, why not reference error, or why not something different error, why type error. Plus you have been given some details that it was unable to read properties of undefined reading airlines. So pause the video, and then after 5 seconds we are going to refactor this code. So I'm going to count 1 2 3 4 5. I hope you paused and try to understand the error. So you can read it. It says cannot read properties of undefined. Now you can see that okay, so properties of undefined, wait a second, and that too on reading airline name, which means that somehow this code is creating the problem, this type error. So yeah, you are right if you thought so. So the error is originating because this function is now a regular function call. So in a regular function call, where does the this keyword points? The this keyword points to undefined. So in a regular function call, if you do this dot airline name, it will be undefined. Okay, so this is the reason why this is not this, but this is undefined. So it is same as calling undefined dot airline name. Okay, so if you save this, you are going to get the exact same error. You see, from line 17 we get the exact same error, cannot read properties of undefined, because this is a regular function call. Of course, we have taken the entire data from this method, but this is now a whole new variable, whole new function. This is not a method, this is an actual function. A method is a general method inside of an object, but this is a function that is defined globally. So here we are making a regular function call, and again in a regular function call, the this keyword points to undefined. So when you say undefined dot airline name, you are going to get this type error. Again, I have talked about all of this in complete details. Okay, so that's why I decided to give you 5 seconds to go through this code, dig deep and try to understand why we were getting the error we were getting. So now, how can we fix this? Well, here comes this call, apply and bind. So now, if you want to fix this error, so instead of calling book directly, we can apply this call method on book. Now what does call do is, call helps us to set this keyword manually. So if you see, if you hover or call, if you read, it says calls a method of an object substituting another object for the current object. So here I can define that, hey, where do I want this keyword to focus? So here I can say that, hey, book.call, I want your this keyword to be set to Air Vistara. So now here I can call Air Vistara, and now I can pass all the details that we have here. So flight number and passenger name. So here I can say, let's say flight number is 328 and the passenger name is 1010. Now the problem will be fixed. So now if I save this, Tintin booked a flight on Air Vistara flight AB328, and now if I log the Air Vistara itself, you will see that inside the bookings array we are going to get these details. Expand this airline Air Vistara, and inside bookings we have one passenger with the flight AB328, passenger name is Tintin. Okay, so this is call helps us, let me write the comment, call helps us to set this keyword manually, and then I can pass all the arguments. Okay, so again, book.call, call Air Vistara and set this keyword to Air Vistara, and then use all of these arguments. Okay, so 328 will be passenger flight number and Tintin will be passenger name. So this is a very simple call. So the workflow is pretty simple. We are simply saying that using this call method on this book function, and so remember, function is also an object behind the scenes, so we can apply a method on the function as well. Okay, so we are saying that, hey book, using this call method, explicitly set this keyword on Air Vistara with these two arguments, which is the method accepting here. So this is the very simple workflow. And now again, to book a flight on Air India, we can do the same. So we can say book.call, and now I can set this keyword to Air India, and then I can pass the flight details. So 329, and this time Tom is going to book, not Tim, but Tom is going to book the flight. So now if I save this, and now if I expand Air India, we are going to have 3 bookings. So this one, the third booking is for Tom on the flight Air India 329. Okay, and of course we can keep going and keep introducing new fleet of airlines, and we do not have to worry about these code. We can just duplicate them. Okay, so here I can say const Air Asia equals to this one, and let's take all of this and make sure to have the correct key value pairs. All of these key value pairs needs to be same. So you cannot say airline, IATA, book. No, it needs to be airline name, IATA code and bookings, because in the original method that is what we are using: airline name, IATA code, and maybe this bookings here. Okay, so you need to have exactly the same key value pairs in all of the object related to airlines. And now I can say book dot call. Now I want this keyword to focus to Air Asia with flight name 330, and this should be Air Asia. Let's change this one, Air Asia, and this time Jerry will book the flight. And if I log out, not log out, but if I console log Air Asia, now we will have another booking on Air Asia. Okay, so you see that how by using this call method we can explicitly define this keyword pointing to a certain object, and I have written that comment here. So call helps us to explicitly define the pointer to where this keyword should refer. Okay, so this is very simple call. And again, I also told you that why we need to define this keyword, because in object section I talked about this keyword and I told you that this is dynamic. This depends on how you are calling the object. Okay, so again, if you want to read more about this keyword, then do refer that section where I have talked about how do we actually what I don't even remember like details of this keyword. Anyway, just check it out. Okay, now moving onwards, we also have a method called as apply. We can do the similar things in a different way as well, and that we can do using this apply. Now apply method does basically exactly the same thing. The only difference is apply does not receive a list of arguments, but instead it receives an array of the arguments. So let me now explain you. I can simply define an array, and I'm going to call this array flight data, and here I have to define the arguments that is being received by the defined method. So book, so flight number I'm going to pass 544, and who is going to book the flight this time? Yeah, Shaktiman. Although it is hysterical to think that Shaktiman is booking flight on Air Asia. Wow. Anyway, I can do this. So if I say book dot now I have to use this apply method. So book dot apply, and then set this keyword to Air Asia with the flight data. Okay, and now if I save this, Shaktiman booked a flight on Air Asia flight AA 544. So if any Indian here, you can understand that why I am laughing. It's completely, at least for me, it is hysterical to think that Shaktiman is booking flight on Air Asia flight number AA544. Wow, Gangadhar bro. Anyway, now if I can show you this one. If I console.log the flight data, if I save this, now here you can see that we have one detail. Well, not flight data, but data for Air Asia. Okay, and here we are going to have two bookings 2. One is for Jerry and another one is for Shaktiman. Okay, so this is apply. But now in modern JavaScript we do not use apply. At least I do not use apply. Why? Because now we can use more modern syntax. So can you guess what I'm talking about? We simply use call, but this time with more modern syntax we can replace this apply altogether. So I can simply say book dot call. I can still use call. I can still set this keyword to Air Asia, but this time instead of defining the array here, I can simply spread the data of this flight data. So here I can say dot flight data. So now we do not have to use this apply and create an array, although we'll have to create an array because eventually we are going to spread that here. So we don't have to use apply. We can still use call and we can just spread the entire array here and it will work completely same. So I can do this again here. Well, why did I copy this one? I should have copied this one. Okay, so now if I save this, we will be having another bookings with the name of Shaktiman. So multiple bookings. Okay, you see Shaktiman booked flight at the same time, the same number flight Shaktiman booked at one time. Okay, it's completely hysterical. So you see this is more modern syntax using call in the in the context of apply using not destructuring but a spread syntax. Okay, so this is call, and now we have bind as well. So let's now talk about bind. Let's now learn about the bind method, and just like the call method, bind also allows us to manually set the this keyword for any function call. Now the difference is the bind does not immediately call the function. Instead, it returns a new function where the this keyword is bound. So it is set to whatever value we pass into bind. So let's continue with our airline example. So let's now say that we want to use the book function for Air Vistara all the time. So we can do that using the bind method. So I can simply say book dot bind, and here I can pass Air Vistara. Now this keyword is set on this Air Vistara. Now we do not call book.bind like this, because this entire method call returns a function which we can store in a variable. So I can say book Air Vistara equals to this. Okay, and now we can call Air Vistara with the remaining arguments. So I can say flight number 123, and this time Maddie booked the flight on Air Vistara. Okay, and so now if I save this, you will see that we get Maddie booked a flight on Air Vistara flight AB123. And if I show you Air Asia, if I expand the bookings, you see we do not have it's Air Vistara, not Air Asia. Hit enter, and if I expand, we have two bookings. The another one will be for Maddie. Okay, so this is bind. Now the main advantage of bind is that now we can create separate function for all the airlines. So if I have to do the same thing, I can do for Air Asia as well, Air Asia, and now I can bind this keyword on this Air Asia, and okay, and now I can use this Air Asia, and now I just have to pass Air Asia is already defined, so I can call book Asia, book, or do this book A, okay, and let's call it book AA, which is function to book ticket on Air Asia. So here I can say 324, 321. Okay, Sadie. There was no one called Sadie in Rehna Hai Tere Dil Mein, but anyway, Sadie booked a flight on Air Asia flight this one. Okay, so again you can do this for which is the last one. So it's Air India. Okay, so book Air India equals to book dot bind. We have bind this keyword on Air India. Okay, and now I'm not going to do the same thing because you know how it works. Okay, so I'm going to write the comment bind helps us to bind this keyword and this keyword on a method, and and it returns us a function with this keyword set to it, with this keyword pointing to the described this. Okay, so which is this one. We say book.bind Air Vistara. So we have bound this keyword on Air Vistara, and this entire method returns us a function. So that function we can host into a variable, and now we can call this function just like a regular function call, and with the arguments that this book method receives, that will be set to this keyword that is defined here, and that's why we are getting this entire data here. Okay, so this is call, apply, and bind. I know that little bit of confusion would have been there, but now everything would have been sorted out. Okay, so next up we are going to understand about closures, and after that iffy, and after that oops. Okay, So with all of that, I will see you in the closure section, and if you really understood, then do make sure to subscribe. Okay, see you there.